Hello and welcome to step 5 of the trailer. Yes, things get busy. We've talked about this. I'm going to assume and take this on and say this is an aspect of model building, especially when you've got one of these larger kits that you want to work on, and it takes time. I mean, I think about the modeler that is, say, sitting at a card table or kitchen table. You break something out, you sit down, you start to want to work on it, and you can't finish it, or something comes up or whatever, and you don't get back to it for 2 months, and here you are. So you're not alone if that's you. Anyways, I've had these parts cleaned up and ready to go since I posted the last video, and I just never had a solid half hour to 45 minutes of quiet to sit down and film this. It's just the way it is. But let's get to it. All right, so the important thing about this, all the parts are out here and cleaned up, is making sure that you keep the numbers straight and that you know where everything is. I'm pulling some of the parts out. Now, I've got a little bit of a curve on the back side of the instruction, so it's going to be hard. And one of the things that was important when I was looking for parts was these little Q26s. So when you're going through, Q26, Q26, Q26. There's a fourth one, I thought. But what's important to note is here's the Q sprue, and there is a 26 right down here, but there's only one, and you need 3. I think you need 4. I'm going to double check here real quick. I left one off and now I can't remember where it went. But the important thing is there's also one that they added in up here. It's hidden away. There's the 26 up over here. Doesn't really make any sense, but that's where the other one was. Other one is for what you need to work with. So don't forget it. And if I find it while I'm looking through this, then we'll know what we're working on. But anyways, that's the deal with where to find your Q26s. There's your extra one. Not in the instructions telling you that that's what's happening. So, you know, it is that which it is. So, starting, the other part is pay attention to these no cement comments that are on here. So we're taking, for example, N4, and we're putting it on Q16 like this. They do not want that glued. However, when you take M29 and you have the little part that way, you got to glue on Q26. And when you glue it on, you want this larger portion pointing out. What I mean is when you look at it from the top, there's a tiny little, like, smaller part and a big fat flange that sticks over that's the same width as the main piece going across the top, and that you want facing this way as per the instructions. And then you can glue this Q16 down. It does not look like there are any particular one way or the other than bolts to the outside, not bolts to the front and back. So let's do this up. So bolts to side, like so, not this way. And it doesn't really fit that way either, so if it fits on, you should be in good shape. And then again, no glue, put that on. That's done. And then work your way down the line doing the same thing. These are not interchangeable. They are all a little bit different in size as far as the bottom plates go, so keep that in mind. And again, remember, all of my parts have been cleaned up. So I can just go ahead and glue Didn't want to bore you all with watching me clean sprue parts off. But again, side to side, like so. No glue, like so. And the last one. Now this is setting up some of the framework for the trailer itself. This is a pretty good move along step. Not really a detail step, even though there's a lot of little parts in it. Okay, there's that. And the only bad thing about not doing these videos in a regular order is I keep forgetting where the focus is. So if I go out of screen, I'm sorry about that. I will try and cover it, but yep, there we go. And again, no glue, like that. So all of those are set up. Now this is set up to where they just get glued down in each spot. So you should be able to take this, again, this is no glue, and put this in. Now my question has been, how do you seat it? Because it just says to put it down. It does not fit in between. Good, I am showing you what it is. So I'm thinking that it bumps up against that. However, you gotta, I didn't notice this, but you gotta trim that down. Now I'm going to double check on this with the diagram down here, just because we want this to all line up. We want this to all work out right. Now if we do it like that, we leave a gap in there. And this is flipped around on this part of the instructions, by the way. Or do we set that in there? Huh, that is. Oh, there we go. Okay, so here's the proper orientation. So even though we've done it with Q26 going this way, notice when you put it together, it goes this way. And in doing so, these two tabs right here go right in the slot right there. So this fits right in there like that. So it's got a nice positive fit. So the instructions are not per se bad, but they keep flipping things around. Pay attention to your orientation. Makes a lot more sense that way too. Now again, like I said, I've had this sitting around for a couple of weeks waiting for me to have time to do this, so there might be a few dust fibers on it. I'll just deal with it as I go along. So now that I know that, makes life easier. I'm going to take my glue along the bottom and the top like so. Yep, there are my tabs. And glue it in. Now what you're doing, so for the first one, let me see. Okay, they're tucking in between the tabs, so that's good. Kind of takes the mystery out of it. These are our last set of tabs here for this one. And I'm just leaving these on here because N4, Q44, and Q44, these two are interchangeable, but this one is not. Just got to make sure I don't get any glue on it. Don't screw that up at all. And I don't, but I'm leaving them on there so then I don't interchange them and screw that up, because that would be kind of a pain. Okay, so Now that this is done, you're going to want to go over to this side here and start working. And there's the other Q26 that I was pointing out to. And again, I left this on here on purpose so I could point this out, because this kind of drove me batty, thinking, you know, why would they do this in a kit? Leave out 2 parts that you need for detail. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time a company had oversighted parts, little detail parts, but I hadn't heard anything in particular about this kit being like that. So, took care of the nub. Looking for any parting lines on here real quick, in case you were wondering how I clean my parts up. Just going around and looking over everything, knowing where the seams are. I don't want to take too much detail off. I just want it to look good, especially since it's going to kind of be hidden away. So, there's our last one. This one's a little different. Again, make sure of your orientation. Here's this. And again, the tab goes this way, like so. And then we glue on, again, the bolts to the outside, like so. And here's our no cement part right there. Now this one fits on a little bit snugger, so just be aware of that. So we've got that built. Now we've got these parts over here, and it looks like we are clamshell trapping the pistons on one end in there, and we're no cementing but putting these in. Oh, look at that. I didn't catch that part right there. For cleanup. So 2 months of prep and I still forgot to hit a part. Huh. So what we're gonna do, what I'm gonna do, is glue in this bottom piece right here in the plastic, get that solid. Then I'm gonna put clamshell the parts in, making sure that the hose links are set up the way they're supposed to be set up. Now this is a little tight, so the nice thing is it might stick enough to where you can, yep, it's sticky enough you can kind of push them in and they'll stay, so then you're not fumbling around needing 15 hands to try to get everything in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the glue right here so I don't mess it up. And then I'm gonna, now the back piece goes in the back. And this might take a little help. There we go. So you're clamshelling it all in there. You're gluing the back piece of the clamshell parts to the back, but you are leaving these pistons right here free and leaving the piston rods free and no glue. It's a bit of a tall order. Take your time. It'll take a little bit of work. And then I'm going to go through on this side alone just to make sure that the glue's gotten in there and it soaks in nicely and goes in. So that leads us to that. Now we start with assembling the larger piece, and this is the first part where this is free. So this goes under here, and you can see we got to stretch those piston rods out to catch onto the part. So what I'm going to do is catch one there and catch one there, and then pull those back And now I'm just going to worry about this, because those are caught. I don't want to mess with them. I'm going to glue that right there. Turn this over right there. There you go. Didn't want to make it look too easy. I know this is a part that can drive some modelers bananas. Mainly because of that, you get one side on just fine, and then the other side, all these moving, freewheeling, no glue pieces. And you gotta wait for the glue to start to tack on without dropping anything. Things get real exciting real fast. I get it. There, now it's starting to tack. And how tacky are these parts now? At the same time, again, no cement. It's just a compression fit of this down onto that, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. So what I'm going to tell you is that's wrong, and you can glue the centerpiece. And also look at your orientation. See how these edges bevel? Make sure they match the bevel on that. And I didn't even look to see if I have this bevel right. There are a lot of moving parts in this. So what I'm saying is if you look at this, it's not equal both ways. It kind of flanges out to the left and to the right. My natural instinct is to flip this around. And there is no orientation that I can see. Oh, yep. I'm going to say this. This should be flipped around because if you look at the picture, it shows these nubs more in the back than in the front. So again, orientation, this is something that is not really caught in the instructions, but you want these nubs on this piece more towards the back than towards the front. So you want it holding this with the whole setup. I don't know why that keeps turning. I mean, they shouldn't turn. Shouldn't be any problem with it. Sorry. Anyways, this should be with the flanging going. It should grow. It should get wider as it goes this way. I hope that orientation, that shot gives you that shot. So then this goes on, and somehow you're supposed to put this on and cement it without cementing this to the shaft, but getting it on there. This is a tall order. This is a really tall order. So what I'm going to do very, very carefully is just put some glue here, put some glue there, keeping it off of the center, the circular part, just on the leg. Just on the little T part there. I'm going to let that dry just a touch. And then I put this on. Now this is supposed to keep this movable for posing of kit parts, or the kit afterwards. Anybody who is doing this and doesn't want to pose it, I would still leave it movable until you have the kit built, so you know how you're posing it, but then you can start gluing this stuff. It's for solidity. And as you can see, the back plate here has moved a bit, so I'm pushing that back forward. Now, for now, I'm leaving it as is. I want to go back later on, I think, and put a little bit more glue in there just to make sure that that is rock solid. And again, this thing also goes down like so. I left these on so that you could see that I just do a little bit of scraping to clean these off. Don't want those punch outs there. It doesn't take a lot. You could use a sanding stick or something if you want as well. I'm just doing this. So here you go, sanding stick. Same thing. Right across there. Get rid of them. But there isn't a front or a back with that. It looks like these ribs get glued and that's it. But you're putting it on this way for all this. Who said modeling wasn't a challenge? Huh? Who said this wasn't fun? It's just assembly, right guys? Boy. Or ladies, I suppose. But anyways, all you want to do is put that on and then make sure that it is oriented with the pieces underneath, and that's just going to take a little bit of looking and adjusting. All right. And honestly, I certainly hope there are some ladies, girls, women, whatever, watching and enjoy the hobby. That'd be fantastic. So again, once we have this built, it gets turned completely around this way. I'm not going to worry about that joint as much now because I'm placing that down in here. And you can see it locks in there and it locks in at the front. So when I glue that on, I don't have to worry about parts. However, I'm going to check and see if this is good or not. Right there. And try and get this to slot right in. It did. Okay. So this slots in right evenly. So this will give a lot of strength to that joint down there. And this will solidify that up front. We want to have this on a nice flat surface. Get that in there. Put that in there. That should be nice and solid. All right, continuing on, now that we've got all this glued on and we're certain that this is good, just double check this joint here every once in a while to make sure that it's this whole plate is on. You can see it kind of pops up a little bit. Nah, that's probably not the best use of that. What I will use is my flat blade. Like so. That looks good. Now with this last one, I'm wondering if you wouldn't be able to glue this whole plate down. I'm gonna run a bead of glue down there just in case that'll work. Because I want this rock solid, baby. But assuming that's all good, now we're moving on to these parts here. This isn't really all that difficult because it's just a whole bunch of these detail parts, which are pieces of the air braking and air control system. But you want to make sure you keep your orientation and your parts right. L3 and L1 are not interchangeable. But as you can see, when you hold L3 up with the notch at the back and the angle at the front, should be detailed to the left side when you're pointing the pointy end, I guess, towards yourself. And make sure that you've cleaned it up. Apparently I only did part of it. So you guys are getting the rare treat of watching me clean up my own parts because I didn't prep this as well as I thought I did. You're so welcome. Might as well check this while I'm at it. Nope. So I'm just going along with the knife. I mean, it's all basic modeling skills, but you know, maybe you decided that you're just getting into the hobby and why not just tackle this particular kit while you're doing it and you're like, oh my gosh, how do I clean off a part? Well, here you go. You've been given the rare opportunity of seeing such a valuable high-level skill. And if you can't tell, that's sarcasm. I just apparently missed doing these parts. Okay. So with that, I'm going to look and make sure that I got these done. Yep, these are all cleaned up. So, don't mistake them, but shouldn't be too much of a problem. Now, they look like they go in here. They don't show on this side. They show on this side that they go on the plates. Always important to note the direction of your parts. Put a little glue. There's the tab. Make sure that the longest, narrowest part is pointing to the rear. And it takes a little bit of work to push these on. And there's a little bit of glue on the back side, so make sure you're not too crazy with the glue. So it looks like it's trying to give the illusion that these two parts here are hooking up as the line, to give that detail without necessarily having to actually run those air lines to these parts. I think it's a great idea. So now this one, I'm going to put it on first, and then I'm going to put the glue on so then I don't make as much of a mess. I mean, they press fit on really nice. So you can just put a little dab on the back and I suppose a little around the sides, but it's a nice tight fit. So, moving along. Okay, so this one is tight. There we go. So some of them might even feel like they gotta snap in like tight. So those are in there. They are tight. There's that, there's that, there's that. Capillary action will take some of it through there. I want it to have a little bit more, and be careful because apparently if you put them in too tight, some of these parts on the back will bend down and not look so good. It's these other pieces in the back that are bending down because you're putting so much pressure to get those on. Anyways, putting a little glue on there so that they glue to the pegs as well. Now coming to the back, this right here going down goes in that slot, so you want it like that. And then you've got this line with the air hose right there. Now this weeble wobbles. This is a pretty thin part. So it's oriented like that. For this, like this. So I've got it like this. And it goes in where it says there's a larger and smaller hole. So these two holes right here. Like that. It's in the holes. And it's just, this line runs on the bottom. It doesn't actually, it's not going to attach to any of that stuff. But now that I've got it in there, did I not clean that up? Oh, for crying out loud, I swear. I thought that was the whole reason that it looked so off, is because I cleaned it up. Must have missed an edge, because it's cleaned otherwise. I'm going to put some glue in there. I'm not going to want to touch this ever again, because it's so, the connection point in between here is so frail. So I'm going to set this aside, and because I've got glue on the flat side, I'm going to do it this way to dry while I do the other side. Now again, the other side is like this, and these parts go in like so. I'm trying to push just the center plug so I don't mess those other pieces up. There's that, there's that. And these I'm just pushing in, then I'll come back with the glue. Just to move this along a bit. So if you do notice that something's a little out of whack, I mean, these parts are pretty thin. You can use a forceps or a knife, just carefully to adjust as needed. So I'm putting all these parts on. I have not put a drop of glue on yet. Yeah, I cleaned these up, but it must have been a little bit odd because these parts were separating and acting wonky, that I didn't get all the plastic off. So be warned, when you're cleaning off the connection points, this is probably going to act really fragile in here. You don't want to break that. It might even be better to just put this on here with those nubs and then clean them off once you've got that in there, because that's a lot more solid. Now I'm going to go back and put in some glue on this side. And then I'm going to look at this side. I don't see any glue coming through, so I'm going to just put a little dab in there on the back side to help that as well. Set that down to dry. Now, this one has dried a bit. Got this little notch like this here, like the instructions show. I want that to be smoother. Good enough. And I've got this. Now this is again oriented all the way around to this direction, so that this goes on like so. This is going to be difficult because it's long, thin pieces of plastic, and we want to glue them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay some glue in this trench all the way down this side. I don't think this is going to be my final glue. This is just to start the process in the plastic so that maybe something will stick while I'm putting this together. Now I've turned this around, but the important thing is that the non-detailed side goes in and lines up. Now at this point I don't have any trick for holding this stuff together, because it's just got to be squared up. And the important thing right now is pushing these up against those support areas. Now I'm going to put some glue in here, and let that capillary action pull it through. Just making sure. Now I'm getting glue on my fingertips, so keep an eye on this side here that you don't mess it up. We've done a lot of hard work making sure things don't get glued where we don't want them. They don't need a screw up at this point to ruin it. But what we're doing is pushing everything together. Getting this main framework assembled. Square-ish. Now, the nice thing is that the part that's gonna go on top or be on top or be on here is going to have some leeway on going back. Pulling this together. So as long as the junction in here is good, we can wiggle wobble things in the next step or two to get it all fixed. Now we're going to do the same thing with this side. Now I'm being generous with the glue when I'm doing this because it is evaporating pretty darn fast. Now that doesn't mean that it's worthless, because it's also going into the plastic. It is having an effect. But I don't want it to have too much of an effect. I don't want a mess. This is just to get it set, get it started, get it in there, get it start to get tacky. There we go. And then we can go through and put a little glue on the inside. And again, be wary, not too much glue, just enough to really get that weld going, but you don't want lots of glue running out. If you really don't want to do it on the inside, do it on the outside. Down in here, right underneath that airline, I guess. What's supposed to be an airline, but remember that you're doing it on that side. That means that you're going to have all the glue on, you know, specifically sticking on the outside. So you're really going to have to watch your fingers. Make sure that they're going in the right spot. You're not going to make a mess. Now I'm being careful not to touch the parts that we put on, just to get some pressure in there. What's weird about this, even though they're not really butt joints, they're supported, they're on like an L bracket, but you can't put like a clamp here to clamp them because you've got the edge of the bottom piece here as well. So you've just got to kind of keep an eye on it, put it together. And it'll start sticking. The worst case scenario is while you're doing this, it like bows out or something really weird for whatever reason. And in that case, there are possibilities of being able to get things to fix things. Now, I'm just checking to make sure everything is still movable. The gimmick still exists. This is the part where you don't want one of these coming off because it's going to be a pain to snake that in there and put it down, trust me. But this concludes step 5. This is what it looks like. I'll see you for step 6.